welcome to a how-to video for SAP Business One. In this video I'm going to show you how to do very simple edits for crystal reports within Business One. So for this example, what I have is I have a layout that I want to alter or edit, one that already exists, and there's a piece of information on there that I would either like to delete and or edit, and then I'm going to re-import it afterwards. So the first thing I want to do is I want to open up Report and Layout Manager. So in the menu I typed in Report and Layout Manager, I cheated a little bit and I brought it up ahead of time, and within here I know that the layout that I want to alter here is within sales orders and the layout under order and items here. So I went into sales AR, sales order, order items, and the one that I want to alter here is this one here that says new sales order. So once I have this highlighted here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click edit, and it's going to launch. And once that's loaded, it loads up crystal reports and it loads up the layout in question here. So this first top section is just a header. And then what you're going to see, depending on what report or layout that you have, is you're going to see some fields in here. Okay, so in this example, I don't necessarily need to load any data if I know that there's a field that I want to alter. So for this example, I have incorrect text here, meaning I don't want this text here and I want to correct it. Maybe it's the incorrect label, maybe it's misspelled, but what I can do is I can highlight this and maybe I make it correct text here. Or if I want to delete, I could highlight and click the delete and remove it. I could move some things around. Whatever I'd like to do with it, I could put it in a different section. There's some different options there as to what I want to do. So for this one here, let's say I'm just going to keep it. I'm just going to alter what's already in there, and I want to save this and re-import it. And let's say I wanted to see this data on a real-world example of this. I'm going to show you a quick example of how to load that data. So how I do this is I have it up here, and I'm going to click refresh. There's a refresh button right here. Preview also works, but it will launch a preview. Now, depending on what you have in front of you as far as a crystal report, there may be a different parameter. Parameter meaning it's looking for information. This one in particular is looking for a doc entry from sales order, and then there's also an object ID. Now I happen to know these off the top of my head as to which ones I want to do. I have some alternate videos on how to find these numbers, but for the sake of this example, I have this information, and it's doc entry 1585. And I know that the object ID for sales orders is 17. Now if it's a report, it may ask you for date ranges. There's some different options there. Now here is where you'll need some additional information if you want to connect this up. So you may need some usernames and passwords and server information. I have mine in here as my server for support one for us. My user ID I know is system, and I do know my password. It prompted me a second time here. So we're just going to finish that, and it's going to load. Now, it loaded a real-world example from our test database here with a sales order that's in there. And now I can see my correct text here. And I can verify that this is what I want. So this is just a better example of if I wanted to line this up or where it sits or how it looks on an actual example. We can do that. And then what we want to do is we want to save. So we're going to do File and Save As. Now you want to save this in a location that you'll be able to find it. So I'm just going to put this on a desktop here, because I'm going to want to load this afterwards as the next step. So I need to be able to find this. So we're going to put that there. I'm going to replace what's already there. Now I can go ahead and close this. And I do want to close this because you will get an error on the import if it's still open. So I'm going to come back to Report and Layout Manager, and I'm going to hit Import. And it's going to run me through a wizard here. It's going to say, where's your file location? That's why I was saying it's important to know where it's at. So this is on the desktop. It's right here. We're going to hit Open. Now the content type. Now there are a couple different examples here. So in this example, it is a layout. You can also do this with reports. So if you have a report, the difference there would be when you do a report, you can assign this to a specific location in the menu. That's one extra piece that you'll get is a pop-up to say where do you want to put this, and you can say, hey, I want to put this under sales reports or so on and so forth. But for right now, we're in layout. We're going to load this. I do know this is sales orders, which is RDR2 for order and an item type. Now we're going to click Finish. Now, if it already exists in the same name, we can say, hey, I want to overwrite what's already there. A good practice is to rename this. It's called New Sales Order 2. So now I can load that in there. And once that loads, it's going to say, has it been done successfully? We can now close this. Now in our Report and Layout Manager, it's going to do a refresh there, and now I have two of them, right? This is my old version, and this is my new version. So what you can do in here, so let's say I'm testing this one, and I want to validate that it works as expected before I can remove the old one. And if I do some validation and I say, hey, this is the one I want to proceed with, you could come back into Report and Layout Manager. Here, you could delete this. Do I want to delete it? Yep. Okay. We're going to refresh that so it goes away. Now let's say here's your new sales order 2 that I want to make this one my new sales order. I can highlight it, and then you can do this. And let's say I want to rename it to new sales order to replace the now old one. And now I technically have the same name. I can proceed with this one and clean up any old outdated versions of it. Now next steps in here, if I wanted to, I could test this out. I could bring up any sales order here. If it was a report, I could do this with a report and just test it out. But what I would do is open this up, open any record here. I could test it by going File, Preview, Layouts. I'm going to do the order. I'm going to pick my new one, new sales order. Let that load. And once that's loaded, this should look very much like my preview that I had when I was doing my editing, but I just want to confirm this is the way I want it here. And if I want, I could go back to Report and Layout Manager, or another thing that you could do is you could come up here to Layout Designer. If I wanted to make this the default. So if I wanted it to pop up when I hit print every time, I could come in here and highlight it and set it as the default if I wanted to, or I just have an additional layout that I'm able to choose from. And again, this is going to be a short tutorial for just being able to edit what's already available in the system. There is absolutely more complicated ways to create, one from scratch, or add different tables and add additional data. That would be a separate training kind of to expand on that. But if you just simply have some fields in there that you want to remove, delete, edit, this would be a short guide for that. Thank you for watching this video. As always, please reach out to us here at Support One with any questions. Click on the link to subscribe for more content.